but we still have a distinguished group of panelists that I would like to mention and see whether anybody, wants to have a question or whatever to debate with the stage and the floor. We have Angelo Ansaldo, Director of SIAT, Rocco Bozzelli, Underwriting Manager at the Rights Marine Club, Vittorio Damonte, Managing Director of Marine Division of Bureau Veritas in Italy, Lorenzo Matacena, Member of the Board of Caronte Tourist SPA, Marco Poliseno, Director of Marine Department of Polias, Leonardo Rondinella, Chief Executive Officer of LGR di Navigazione, Christopher South, Deputy Director of West of England P&I Club, Gerasimos Strintzis, Chairman of Hellenic Seaways. So, in a strict alphabetical order, let's start from Angelo Ansaldo.
I want to make a brief overview about the human contribution to the marine casualties. We know that the human error is a regular, continues to be a regular trigger for hull machinery and P&I casualties.
Angelo, avvicinati un po' più al microfono.
Over the years. It comes as no surprise that the great majority of marine casualties come from human error. The human factor, I think in my experience, is more or less 70% of marine claims, 60–70%. We have no specific figures, but I'm not far from the truth by saying this figure. But what do we mean by human error? I think that human error on board of ships is split among various items. During the IUMI conference, there was a lecture about this point, and it was pretty surprising to find out that over 30% of the claims come from deck officer error, 14% pilot error, 12% only crew error. Then we have 11% equipment failure, 9% shore personnel error, 9% mechanical failure, 7% structural failure. So the human factor is actually dominant over the last 25 years. Another interesting information about the cause of claims is how long masters are in command. During the last 4 or 5 years, over a sample size of 1,500 persons, it appears that 30% of masters have been in command for less than 3 years, and 25% less than 2 years with the same shipping company. As far as chief officers, time in rank, 57% less than 3 years experience, and 27% less than 1 year with company. So this is an interesting information. What to do about that? What can you do managing this kind of risk? I think humans have always made mistakes. So it is quite a difficult task to eradicate, to unroot this problem. All we can do is just to deal with it. How? I think that there are several ideas and thoughts. First of all, to assess properly what our exposure is in terms of analysis of what the cost is in relation to every risk and in terms of accumulation of risks. Secondly, I think that underwriters should focus their efforts more on technical risks, i.e. what we do insure ships, rather than relying too much on financial revenues. Also, assessing and to set the right premium after to find the right surplus after operating expenses and after the capital management requirements. We have also to take into account the connections and the dependencies existing between macro factors and the repair cost. So, in theory, we have to elaborate to set up a business model that enable us to estimate what our claims are going to be, i.e. the risk premium. But having said that, I do believe that a major driver for our efforts in the future is the ability to adapt and to satisfy our clients and their requirements and needs for the future. I think our industry must be very close to our clients and not only provide a financial risk relief instrument. And this is our future challenges in order to bring the business forward. Thank you.
Rocco Bozzelli from Rights. Rights is a P&I fixed premium carrier. And Rocco, please.
Yeah, thanks, Federico. Although we represent the 10% of non-IG tonnage, I think I can share the same issue with Alistair about large claims. So when we talk about P&I insurance, it's clear that if we get a large claim, we have to rely on the reinsurance industry. That's quite clear, and it's quite a challenge. If I see the evolution in the last years about the retention of each single IG club, and if I look on the increased threshold of the commercial reinsurance layer, so I see from Alistair's presentation it was like excess $30 million on 2000, and we have now excess $70 million. So it's clear that we are, as P&I insurer, we have to provide the financial security and the augmentation of vessel size, the pressure of new convention and regulation are demanding an increased limit of liability to our industry. My question is if such trend will continue, so reinsurance industry will be the key element when we talk about large claims. And another point, before this morning our speakers, they talk about the fuel consumption, and they said that we do not need to generalize on this. If I look on the 4 ship categories on the reinsurance cost, I see dirty tankers, clean tankers, dry cargo and passenger ships, but I'm pretty sure that if we look about large casualties, we could maybe have sub-segments. And maybe the impact on general increase will maybe be different according to the vessel size. So my question is if you see such trend to continue, and what is, let's say, the discussion with the reinsurance industry about maybe a sub-segmentation of vessel categories when we talk about reinsurance cost, which of course has an impact then to the general increase of each club member, and of course also for non-IG fixed premium facilities, because of course when we talk about large claim we rely on reinsurance as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Rocco. So, I don't know, it's up to you. Say, Alistair, Simon. This is really probably.
I think it's an interesting question, and it was what I was trying to allude to when I was talking. The problem is that the more you subdivide the ships into subclasses, as you're saying, the less and less statistical information you have available on which to make those judgments. And therefore, if you subdivide into lots of different small categories of ships, most of them, or many of them, won't have even had a claim ever in their lives, but they all could have a claim at some point. And therefore, you get to a very, very subjective assessment of risk and exposure, which is why, at least until now, we have tried to use the science a bit better to have larger categories of ships where there is some record and some guidance as to how the cost should be allocated. It does mean that it's a fairly crude system, but as I say, if you go more granular, you have less and less reliable statistical data, and then you're making real subjective judgments and not objective judgments. So there's a balance to be achieved, but it's very much a topic which we are focused on now.
Thank you.
Talking briefly over lunch also, Lorenzo Matacena was particularly concerned about the escalation of claims, and I feel that Alistair could be, again, the one that could answer to your question.
I'm Lorenzo Matacena, and I don't work into the club, so I'm a client, actually. And I read last week there was a decision from the European Court in Luxembourg, and they have slightly changed the from now on, the forza majeure, the force majeure, will be not considered anymore as a reason not to refund our clients. I'm speaking as a Ro-Ro-Pax operator. Since the European Community has decided that clients they are entitled to claim to companies for some kind of money or a percentage of the ticket, or they need some kind of, they are entitled to ask or to claim a certain amount of money or a certain percentage of the money that has been spent to buy the tickets. So from our perspective, this year we did suffer a major increase of our premiums because of the Concordia, and we all know that. I was wondering if this other this decision will influence the cost that we are actually sustaining on insurances.
The answer is that I don't know the answer, but I think it's quite improbable, quite unlikely that a decision such as that would directly influence the cost of the insurance cost. I mean, clearly every time that obligations and liabilities and responsibilities increase, that has to push up the cost of risk, and that ultimately, if it leads to claims, leads to an increase in premiums. But I think that it's unlikely that one decision on its own, without any positive or obvious results so far in claims, I think it's unlikely that that itself would have any impact.
I forgot to add something. Actually, in our market, most of the Italian carriers are usually are a bit in delay. Let's put it this way. Especially on the Ro-Ro-Pax market, you can very frequently experience like 1 or 2 hours of delay on arrival. So I'm not asking. I made somehow I made a wrong question, or my question was posed in the wrong way. The price of insurance will not increase, but will the companies need to have an insurance on this, because I did ask. The day after I read it on the newspaper, I picked up the phone and I called my agent, and I'm waiting for an offer. So will I have to add this to my other insurances, or to add to my other costs, better expressed?
I'm going to say the same answer. I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to your question because I don't know exactly what covers you have, but it sounds more like a sort of commercial type of loss rather than an insurable type of loss. I'm not absolutely sure, but I suggest you ask your broker.
Okay, I mean, I think we covered already almost all aspects of classification society, but I don't know whether Vittorio Damonte, in his position as managing director of BV Italy, wants to add anything or to put up any question to the stage.
Well, thank you, Chairman. No, well, I don't have any particular question. Just want to underline something about the speech of my colleague, and to underline the evolution of the classification societies upon the effect of the risk management approach, how this has changed our approach in issuing the new rules. So I just want to focus on the fact that, I mean, the development of the new vessel, huge vessel, mega container ship, very large ore carriers, ultra-large crude carriers, and even the mega passenger vessels that are built at the moment, I mean, they change our approach to prepare and to issue the rules to help and to support. And well, we moved to a risk management approach because of the missing return of the experience. I mean, this kind of vessel have not been built before, so we couldn't apply the existing rules as they were. So, I mean, just want to say that there was this development of this goal-based standard, and even the alternative design. All these systems are based on a risk management approach, and this is now part of our role, of our day-to-day way to deal with our matters. Just that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Then we have Marco Poliseno. So, I mean, we live in the same arena. We broke marine business every day to the underwriters. Here you have prominent personality like Andrea Cupido, Angelo Ansaldo, Alessandro Morelli. So, I mean, anything to ask or to suggest?
Thank you, Mauro. No, in fact, I was just to add something from broker's perspective to Andrea. Speech is I completely agree when you said that insurers have to be quite careful and to rate in the right way with condition, etc., all the fleet and you have every single vessel. But at the same time, I think Mauro will agree with me. We are a broker. I mean, we are on a ship owner side, trying to make all cost effective as much as possible. So having, a good, brilliant leading company that can make the job you said, and having a good partner of co-insurers with a high rating, I think would be quite a good opportunity to mix the leading know-how as well with the new financial capacity that is coming every year in the market, probably because you said it's 17 years that you said they are losing money, but as you already said, there are someone that is making money overall. And one more thing is about the Angelo Ansaldo, when he pointed that the crew probably sometimes is crucial in claims analysis, but also the age of the fleet is quite important as a result of a claim. Then I was wondering, because we all know that Italian fleet, Italian shipping community had invested a lot for renewing the fleet. In fact, it's probably one of the youngest fleet in the world. And how is your perception if you can divide it by areas and age, the loss ratio of the UMI data, how the Italian young fleet is compared with the other European or even non-European trends. Thank you.
But to reply to the first part of your question, we need to secure our clients, your clients, the best possible deal. And but we need to work out a price which is sustainable in the long term, because we believe in continuity. So we want to be the insurers of your clients for many years. I mean, we have to, when I said we use pricing models and parameters, I said we don't want to delegate the underwriting to a tool, because then it would be to the underwriter judgment to differentiate between different ship owners, treating each of them according to their merits. So if the tool will propose me a price which for me is not rewarding the quality of a ship owner, I have the freedom, the liberty to adjust the price according to my underwriting judgment. As far as the performance of the Italian fleet, I would say the quality of the Italian shipping community is good. We believe in the Italian shipping industry. We sustain the Italian shipping industry. The performance is good. Not, I mean, it's good compared to other countries. I know we take Germany, for instance. I mean, they have globally a worse result, but there are countries still which are more or less in line with Italy. I mean, the Italian shipping community has made a big effort to renew the fleet, and I expect the performance, claim-wise, of the fleet going forward will improve even further, if possible. So, I mean, for us, Italy is a crucial country. That's why Swiss Re Corporate Solution has decided to establish the continental European hub in Genoa. Could have been done in Hamburg, or in Paris, or in Rotterdam, wherever. It's a continental hub. But we decided Italy was providing the right environment, both in terms of ship-owning community and in terms of network of professionals. I'm talking lawyers, adjusters, surveyors. I mean, this was a choice which for a time has been rewarding, and we are very happy to have made it.
Thank you, Andrea. I mean, your word will be, recorded and will be used against you in blocking the next Italian account. No doubt about that. Now, Federico, carry on, please.
Thank you. Mr. Rondinella, so we just had a chance of having a few words prior to, say, the starting of the session, and he has an interesting thing he wants to address the attention of the underwriters on. If you want to start.
Thank you, Chairman, and good afternoon to everybody. I would like to emphasize the impact of the new rules in the correct management of the risk in a shipping company. I'm referring in particular in the forthcoming entering into force of the electronic chart display system that sooner or later will be implemented also on board of Italian flagged vessels. It goes without saying that there are two factors to be taken into consideration. First of all, a possible equipment failure, and most importantly, second, according to me, is the need of training and familiarization with equipment. My question is if the P&I clubs share our concern in the introduction of this new technology that is important step forward, but at the same time also a reason of concern for the possible impact in the bridge management. As we know, there is a very, very high percentage of incidents related to the poor bridge management. Thank you very much.
Christopher South from the west of England. I think Angelo Ansaldo has started by raising a critical issue for this industry, which is crew training, the speed of promotion, the continuation training of crews, the degree to which crews are, should we say, situationally trained. How many of us would want to fly home tomorrow on an aircraft where the crew have gone through the same selection process as some of the crews on the ships we may be talking about? I certainly have my reservations, because even the aviation industry, the critical weakness is crew, as has been seen in the Air France accident in the Atlantic, which was entirely a crew-related accident. No criticism meant of anybody. So I think the point of crewing is critical. I think we have to be sympathetic to the crews, particularly masters. Masters are put under incredible stress. They're told to drive their ship to make port on time. They're also the human relations officer on board the ship trying to deal with crews, often of mixed nationalities. They get to port, they're bombarded by surveyors, port state inspection, filling in documents, etc. And now they have to struggle with the new technology. And the new technology is good, of course. But are we also facing a danger that we're going to have what I described earlier to Leonardo, the Game Boy generation? I have seen too many accidents where the officer of the watch or the master is fixated by his screens and they never actually look out the bridge window. When I learned to fly when I was young with the Air Force, I was told my best safety equipment are my eyes. Try and look where you're going. And I see too many accidents where people don't actually look where they're going. I would challenge you to ask your masters, how often do they actually walk out onto the bridge wing and get a feel for the sea, the basic seafaring skills that the senior gentlemen in this room, I'm sure, grew up with it. But do our new generation? That's my sort of immediate reaction to Leonardo's comment. If I could go on to my own comment briefly, I have concerns about the salvage industry's ability to respond to the mega container ships. So far, we haven't yet had to deal with an 18,000 TEU ship aground. We have serious technical problems. And that leads on to something that's also very important, I think, is the issue of ports of refuge. The unwillingness of littoral states, coastal states, to give ports of refuge to ships in distress. We've seen it recently where you had the Flaminio actually towed all the way up to Wilhelmshaven, and in the end, Wilhelmshaven were happy, I think, to take it. It was a German ship, and they had no trade. So they've done very well out of it. But there's no one at the time of an emergency who has authority to say, take this ship in because we have a port of refuge, we can protect the environment. Uniquely, the UK does under our Secretary of State's representative, SOSREP, who has absolute power when there's a maritime accident. He can take command. He can say, you bring that ship in, as happened with the MSC Napoli, which sadly only just went wrong. If she had been beached as intended, we wouldn't have had the disaster we had. But other states, it's not in my backyard. Send it away. And if the ship's lost, you have pollution and the hull market faces a total loss, when that ship might have been saved if she had been allowed into a port of refuge. And I think for our European friends, it's not often I think England's ahead of Europe, maybe, but having a proper authority who can command a vessel into a port of refuge is very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Who wants to comment on what Chris said?
Hi, Chris. Yeah, two things you brought up. One was the bit about the salvage industry capability. I think, yes, R&D is something that we do, but it's not every company that does that. And if a particular salvage company is taken on for a job for, so we say, commercial reasons, then they do the job. It's not always that, say, the top job goes to the bigger companies. It doesn't always work like that. So you end up with what you get paid for, basically. We, from our point of view, yes, we do have quite a lot of development in that respect for new methods of getting containers off, but Fire, I think, is more of an important. How do you put those out? That's one thing. But getting them off in a grounding situation, as you say, one of these new, big, something like the Emma Maersk. I mean, that's a major problem. It will be a major problem somewhere because most likely it will happen just where you don't want it to. That's the first bit. Secondly, you're on about ports of refuge. The Flaminia was one it was a job I was involved directly, and basically it was in the Atlantic. So where's the port of refuge? Nobody wants it. If it's not inside the EE zone of any particular country, then you've got a problem. And then you have to go on bended knee to all the nations, and that's what I did, to ask them, can you take this vessel? I don't think I'll speculate more on that one, because it's still a bit ongoing, I think.
And you might find yourself again.
And I might get arrested, so...
Okay, which is taking us to the last panelist on the list, Mr. Strintzis. We've been bombarding you with all sorts of things, insurance, class, or whatever. You're a ship owner, you certainly have something to add on to.
Yes. Actually, I have a question for Mr. Groom, please. Following the accident of Concordia, we understand that there is going to be an increase for the cost of the insurance of the P&I clubs. This cost is going to affect the rates of the cruise ships only. I understand not only, but also of the ferries. Is going to affect the rates equally? Can you explain how the system works so we can be prepared for the increased cost for the next year or the years to come? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there was a big increase last year, as you know, in the reinsurance rate for passenger ships. It was an increase of 125%. And at the moment, there is one category of passenger ship which includes both ferries and cruise ships, and therefore the same increase was applied to all passenger ships. This year, we don't know what will happen yet. We haven't yet started to have our negotiations with our reinsurers, and the question of the correct allocation has not yet started. So I can't tell you what will happen. Clearly, the question as to whether cruise ships and ferries should remain one category or two is an interesting question, but one which has not yet, there's no answer to it yet, so I can't give you any guidance as to what might happen. I mean, as I said earlier, historically there have been more large casualties affecting ferries and only one affecting a cruise ship. But the cruise ship one was very expensive, so all these things need to be weighed up. Some of the ferries are very big as cruise ships, some of them are very small. And row packs are probably not really the same as large cruise ships. So there are a number of different arguments, but it's too early to say what will happen at the forthcoming renewal.
Can I just make one comment? I kind of anticipated there may be a discussion about ferries versus cruise ships. And of course, the Costa Concordia's got a lot of money because of the wreck removal, because there wasn't a lot of deaths. And I just checked with my office, just to put it in context, in Europe alone, so the incidents that came to mind were the Estonia ferry, 852 dead, Scandinavian Star, 157, Express Samina, 143, and Herald of Free Enterprise, 193. So what we're looking at with these ships is actually, it's the passengers, the bigger risk. The wreck removal is really, should be seen as a one-off. The real risk exposure is the number of passengers and therefore also the number of crew. And that's why I think ferries do tend to sit naturally with cruise ships. And also if you look, rather again like aviation, it's the number of flight cycles relates to the risk more often than anything else. And ferries have a very high number of rotation and routes compared to the average cruise ship. So I think because of the passenger risk, they will stay together, is my view. But obviously it's for when the group and the reinsurers look at things. Okay? Sorry.
Chris, I think we can carry on this discussion, say, for another 2 hours, and we are not going to get an answer on this. I know Captain Giuseppe Bottiglieri wanted to say something to us.
Yes, I have something to ask. I have two questions. The first one, I was just lying with Mr. Strintzis when he said this kind of increase in premium. But the increase of premium of P&I Club is something very different between you, P&I Club, and Mr. Cupido of Swiss Re. Two different, completely different stories. While Mr. Cupido with Swiss Re is going into the insurance market in a free way, for you it's very easy. You go in the market because all ships in the P&I clubs, in the IG system, are on a mutual basis. At the end of the day or the year, they look how much they lost, they ask money. Hello, ship owners, give us money and put in the basket. And if not, or they increase or they ask a supplementary call. They make a budget, they estimate, very easy, without any responsibility. It's true, Mr. Grom. This is very easy, but on the other side, and this is what I ask you if it's true or not, because, you know, at the end of the story, all shipping community is responsible for one case like Costa Concordia or other big claims. Swiss Re, differently, they are reinsurers, but they have to go in a free market. And if I don't like to pay so much premium on the hull machinery, I go to another one. Maybe there is a risk they will not pay if something happens, but it's a right choice. With the P&I Club, it's completely different. If I want to leave Standard, UK, Britannia, and go with another one, I have to pay all the release call and the same amount to go with the next one. Therefore, we are almost attached to stay always in the same club. This is something that doesn't work anymore, you know, because these clubs are working, all the clubs are working without responsibility. The managers have no any responsibility and will not pay attention like what happened with Normal and the writers. This is the completely different story. This is my opinion. After, I like to have your opinion. And then I have a second question for Simon Williams. You prefer first to give an answer to this? Please, Mr. Grom.
I think I better answer you before I forget your question. But I'll try and be fairly quick. You're right, there is a measure of competitive restriction within the P&I clubs, between the P&I clubs. It's something which the boards of the ship owners have supported over the years. I mean, ship owners are governed by boards that we managers are administering the clubs under the direction of the boards. The ship owners are on the boards and we answer to what they want. Until now, the ship owners have felt the system was a good one. As far as I can see, most ship owners continue to think it's a good system, and you need only to look at the results of the P&I system as a whole to see that we don't make money. On most years, we are underwriting barely to break even, often at a loss. One or two clubs sometimes make a profit, but generally speaking, the market on the whole makes a loss. So we are not overcharging the ship owners as an industry. The insurance is being provided at cost. It's true, we buy our reinsurance together, and all I can say is I think if each club individually went out to buy the same limits of cover for its reinsurance, it would cost a lot more than buying it together. So I'm not saying the system is perfect, but I think that the ship owners are not paying more than the real cost of the insurance. And sorry, you had a question about the Costa Concordia. Yes, of course, that casualty, but not just that casualty, because also at the same time the Renner casualty in New Zealand, which was a container ship on the reef, that happened not long before, that was also giving a big cost to the reinsurers, and so there was a big increase in cost. As I say, the majority of the cost was put onto the passenger ship owners. But, for example, when the Exxon Valdez had its spill back in 1989, the cost for all ship owners of the reinsurance went up because some of it was put onto the tankers, a large amount, but not all of it. So everyone had to pay some more. So our intention is always to try to be as fair as possible, to allocate the cost according to the record, but I'm afraid to say that it's not an exact science. We have to do some subjective assessment as well.
Can I remember for a second that I'm a broker, and I have to say that you both are 100% right, okay?
Anyway, thank you very much. But Mr. Groom, some other clubs in 2011, renewal, in 2012, with very good statistics, they ask increased premium. And now what do they have to ask? If they asked 3-5% in that years, that an increase of premium is for all the life of the ship, while supplementary call is only for that year. You know, and some club, I don't want to mention now, but you understand, they first increase the premium and after give rebate to the ship owner. And this, I don't think is very nice when you do this, but not your club, another one. Now I have another question to Simon Williams. Very interesting, you talk about Maritime Labour Convention now in force. And you showed the toilets, or very dirty toilets on board of the ship, maybe it's a modern tonnage. Nevertheless, if this toilet is dirty and the crew go to port state control, have a claim, the ship is stopped, everything okay, clean, make again, and go. The owner cannot do anything, only at the end maybe can disembark this seafarer. The MLC is a comprehensive protection on the rights of seafarers. And what about the protection on the rights of a ship owner? In other words, ship owner only can do this because it's far away, thousands of kilometers. What have to do? To say, okay, now this guy has to be disembarked. Or is better if we introduce something new, like penalization on the license, like what they have in Italy for driving a license. Because the crew that have made not dedicated the proper attention, and is a guy that is going dirty everywhere, you know what happened with this guy? Leave the vessel and go to the next one. And there is no any regulation that can say, look, if you go now on the other ship, and you make the same problem, we have to do something. What is your opinion, Mr. Simon Williams?
Simon, this is taking you back to your days of claims.
It's a good point you make, and I think part of my presentation was to try to ask the question: Is the MLC a one-way street? Is it only for the benefit of the seafarers? How does it affect, or is there a benefit at all for the ship owner? And I think what I said was, as an industry, it probably is, but individually, it might not be. There's a danger, of course, that a ship owner is held to ransom by his crew. I mean, a single complaint could quite easily delay the vessel, and it may only be a minor complaint. You've empowered the seafarers much more than you've empowered the ship owner. I think only time will tell as to how these will be resolved. I think I'm aware of at least 2 detentions so far since MLC has been implemented, but only time will tell as to whether there will be a significant impact on the ship owner. It's a question I'm not sure I know the answer to at this stage.
If there are no more questions, I would hand over to Francesco, because I think he desperately wants us to go for a coffee, does he?
Actually, I think we don't have time for the coffee. Since we have to, thank you for this beautiful session and so many clients, P&I clubs, owners, and insurance companies. But I think if just quickly, the time which is necessary, 5-10 minutes, to remove the names and change the. I think we can have a very quick one, providing in less than 10 minutes are back here, okay? Because the last session is probably the most debated. We have only one thing. The dinner is 9 o'clock, and the bus will be 8:45 at the Chelsea.